Those of you who voted for Trump, screwed around and you're about to find out.
They're going to go after your kids' classmates. They're going to go after your delivery guy.
What it means is grandmothers. What it means is brothers and aunts.
They're going to go after the people who work in restaurants. They're going to go after the business owners.
We shouldn't have let these people come in. It's too many people for our country to be able to absorb.
I think there are a lot of folks who are worried about what this is going to mean for our economy.
Okay, so The View once again is having a meltdown. This time it's not about the election. It's about the fact that President-elect Trump has appointed Tom Homan as the new border czar. And they are just making some wild accusations using fear once again to scare their audience and lie about what Trump is really doing here, which most of the country actually supported, which is why he got elected in the first place. But you guys are going to see that in this video, why they're just unhinged. Let's go ahead and start with it.
You realize, I mean, it's chilling what he just said. You realize that when he says, yes, families can be deported together, what he is saying is that U.S. citizens can be deported. What he is saying is if the parent is undocumented and they have U.S. citizen children or U.S. citizen spouse, or and you don't want to separate them, then let's deport the U.S. citizens. Look, Donald Trump won the electoral vote. He won. He's going to win the House. He won the Senate. For all effects and purposes, he's got the Supreme Court. They've given him immunity. This is what the country voted for. This is, you know, a lot of people thought that when he talked about mass deportations, he wasn't being serious. I don't know how many times he had to say it for people to realize he was being serious.
Everybody knows he was serious because that's why he polled higher on that issue. So that's number one. Number two, the Supreme Court gave Trump immunity. Do you hear this woman? She's insane. No, the Supreme Court defined immunity for the presidency. Doesn't matter if it's him, Joe Biden, or whoever else comes after him. They were able to define how far does presidential immunity go, right? And there's boundaries there. Number three, which I find to be very disingenuous. He's going to deport U.S. citizens. Lady, if I crossed the border, I broke the law, then I gave birth to my kids, or I brought my kids over here, wouldn't it make sense for them as a family to be deported together? Or do you want him to separate families? Because I thought you guys were going to melt down over that as well. So which way is it? Do you want him to separate family and keep the child here? Or do you want the child to stay with the family and go back to where they came from? I just find the logic not to really add up.
When you talk about mass deportations, people think, oh, it's just going to be the criminals. There's not enough criminals, aliens in the federal prison system for it to be mass deportations. What it means is grandmothers. What it means is brothers and aunts. What it means is abuelos y abuelas. It means dreamers. It means your family members. It means your colleagues. It means your friends. It means people who are part of the society. And look, America, you know, those of you who voted for Trump, this is what you wanted. This is what you voted for. You screwed around and you're about to find out.
Okay, so once again, I have to clarify what she is saying because she's not educated on this, all right? Mass deportation, okay? When you say the word mass, what is the total number that constitutes me calling it a mass deportation operation? I would assume if I take the lesson from mass shootings, which is 3 or more people being killed, then even 100 criminals at a minimum or 1,000 criminals at a minimum would constitute mass deportation. So clearly she's not really thinking through what she is saying. And then obviously she's trying to tug on people's heartstrings by, hey, we're going to deport your grandmother, we're going to deport this person you love, and all this other stuff. And really, it's just far from the truth. This is a priority, right? Meaning the first priority on the list is getting rid of these criminals, these rapists, the people who clearly have a record that was allowed to come into the country. Probably number 2 would be searching for the people who were never even identified to begin with, right? And then number 3, and I truly do believe this, that they will make a system to give people the opportunity to either, one, you need to prove that you are contributing to society. And if you're not, you got to go. And I think that's very fair because they've already benefited from being in the country. Think about how many migrants have been paid on a monthly basis, financially, with benefits, with health care. All right, so in this same episode, for some reason, I guess they're so scared of Trump, they're now advocating for Joe Biden, to pardon Hunter Biden.
Biden is in there for the next 2.5 months. And this is what I'm going to tell Joe. Joe, since they're talking smack about you anyways, you know what, baby, pardon Hunter.
Yeah.
Pardon Hunter, because America just pardoned a criminal.
Yes.
Who was convicted.
Yes.
Of felonies.
Yes.
America just elected a man who pardoned Jared Kushner's father.
Yeah.
Who set up his brother-in-law with a hooker and then sent the pictures to the sister because they were in the midst of a fight over the parents' money.
Yeah, I can't follow that.
Well, whatever the flow chart is, it's nasty.
Exactly.
He's probably going to pardon some of the folks from January 6th, those insurrectionists. So you know what? It's your son. He probably wouldn't have been prosecuted if his last name wasn't Biden. Baby, you got 2.5 months. I'm good with you pardoning Hunter.
Now, remember, this is the same lady who was telling you that Trump was going to lose by a landslide, that it wasn't going to be close, that people were exhausted of Trump. They were done with Trump. We needed to turn the page on Trump. This is who she is. She's a part of that group. So as far as we know, she has zero credibility in what she is saying. In fact, it is to the point in my mind, from a common sense perspective, Trump is going to have to show me that these people are correct. I'm not taking anything they say for face value because I know all they're really doing is emotionally reacting to this and not providing a common sense take. Now, if I haven't been able to explain why this is common sense driven and why this actually makes sense to the average American out there, here's a gentleman who went on MSNBC and put it nicely.
So, Mike, good morning to you. You talked about mass migration, so I do want to talk about the president's mass deportation plan. I care about the human toll. I understand not everybody does. I think there are a lot of folks who are worried about what this is going to mean for our economy. How are you going to explain to American workers, how do you take the additional cost? Is that then that profits are cut into by industry, or do you pass that additional cost onto the consumer?
Well, many of these industries are very profitable, and so if there's a cut into some profits in favor of American workers being able to have a wage that supports a family, I'd support that. Look, over the last 4 years, we've had nearly 10 million people flood this country. The idea that that's just a status quo that has to be lived with, and President Trump is not correct to be able to say, look, we shouldn't have let these people come in. It's too many people for our country to be able to absorb too quickly. We have the highest level of foreign-born people in the United States in the history of the country, but asking them to leave isn't allowed is kind of silly. It's not just a one-way ratchet where when Democrats are in control, people get to flood our country, and then when Republicans are in control, we just sit on our hands. Many of these people came in through a program called temporary protected status. I don't think it's cruel or in any way inhumane to enforce the temporary part of temporary protected status.
Yeah, so he obviously gave them an education on this because there's a cost to everything, okay? When you let that amount of people into the country, someone's going to pay for it, right? And we've been paying for it, whether it's the destruction of our inner cities and the resources logistically, financially, healthcare, even education, whether it's people and their families being damaged, hurt, or murdered in the process because of all of these murderers that were allowed to come into the country, whether it is the strain on the federal budget. How much money have they been using to fund this operation of letting these illegal migrants come across the border? I mean, it doesn't matter which way we go. We end up in the same place, which is this is a crisis, and Trump is going to solve it. Okay, so let's just take a moment really quick. If you're getting value from this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below. You can shop our merch store or buy us a cup of coffee. Now, they weren't the only people to be unhinged after this appointment shook the nation, okay? This lady on CNN, who's absolutely Trump deranged, she loses it.
Giancarlo, come on. You know better. You know so much better than what you are spouting right now. Our community is going to go through pain. Our community is going to go through cruelty. That is not what anyone voted for. And in fact, I will tell the American electorate, if the administration, if the incoming Trump administration goes through this, here's the people that they're going to go after. They're going to go after your kids' classmates. They're going to go after your delivery guy. They're going to go after the people who take care of your kids. They're going to go after the people who work in restaurants. They're going to go after the business owners in your community. They're going to go after the people who work and who own the farmers markets that you love going to on weekends. This is going to be a snapshot of incredible pain and cruelty. And this is, again, they tried to do a semblance of this in 2017, and we saw the backlash. So, I'm saying if this is what you all think you have the mandate for, go for it. You're going to see very quick and very horrifically the kind of backlash you're going to get. I don't think people voted for a cost of almost $100 billion that you all are going to spend if, in fact, you are going to deport the 12 to 15 million, some people in your party think it's 20 million, undocumented immigrants that are here. Go after the criminals, absolutely. And in fact, that's what every administration has done.
Okay, so I warned you. I told you she was going to lose it. A lot of what she's saying is very emotional, fear-driven. There's no data point to support that that's exactly what's going to happen in the way that she put it. Now, let's use some common sense. Will criminals get deported? Absolutely. Will undocumented, or actually, correction, illegal migrants, I don't know why they keep saying undocumented, when technically they got into this country illegally, but okay, that's me nitpicking. Illegal migrants, will they be deported along with their children? Probably so. Is that a bad thing? Not really. This is what happens when you don't have a process and you refuse to use law and order in an organized fashion and let people into the country. When it's just a free-for-all, which is absolutely extreme, then the only way to get them out is also extreme, okay? So I think we all should be prepared for the amount of backlash that's probably going to come from the legacy media and how they're probably going to do what? Push misinformation about all this, instead of just telling the truth, which is we can't pay for 20 million illegals that came into this country over the past few years. We just can't do it. And what I find interesting about this is not the first time in our nation's history that we've deported illegal migrants. They act like this has never been done before.
Look at these numbers out just this morning. It shows a majority of Americans support mass deportations for undocumented immigrants. This poll was taken after that first debate. It was at the height of some of that controversy dealing around Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. So it's a huge issue in the campaign right now. And these numbers reflect just how much of a priority it is. But one of the more interesting things is when you break it down by party. Yes, it is driven mostly by Republicans. Nearly 90% of Republicans say they support it. But look at independents, 58%, more than half of independents say they're also in support. And even Democrats, a quarter of Democrats supporting either somewhat supportive or strongly supportive of mass deportation. I think that's a number that jumped out at a lot of us, a lot higher than you would think given the current rhetoric from both parties.
All right, so you guys know me. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. So I wasn't surprised to see that The View had a meltdown over this. Trump moving quickly, not waiting, and looking to get things done as soon as he takes office on January 20th. But listen, kudos to obviously Trump for moving this quick. And we're not going to give any kudos to The View and how unhinged their takes were. So that is my opinion. What do you guys think about The View and how they've been reacting to this story? Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Now, earlier, we also got to shoot a video about the meltdown coming from multiple governors, the legacy media, and how shocking this announcement was from Trump that came late last night. If you want to see us dive deep on this, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.